okay, I get it. There is a lack of diversity in the Oscars. I get it. America is a very racist country. I get it. We get it. We totally know. I think this is something that, to me, the reason why I don't talk about racism and shit is because it's a given. We know. Like, I'm not trying to change the world as far as racism is concerned. I just want to change people's style and fashion and open-minded and maybe open minds to sexuality. Because racism is too big for me. It's too big. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just bigger than what I can tackle. But my problem is this. Jada and Will Smith are like some of the wealthiest ass people in Hollywood. And it bothers me that for some reason they want people to boycott the Oscars. First of all, most people, like myself, go to a job that they don't want to go to, that they don't get paid anywhere near the amounts of money that these actors make. And we don't get awards. We don't get accolades. We go because we need to pay rent. We go because we need to pay bills. We go because sometimes we want a nicer car. Sometimes we just want the basics, and that's why we go. But we don't get awards, and if we do get awards, it's usually retirement or employee of the month, but it doesn't come with anything major. It's just like, okay. And even employee of the month kind of sucks because, you know, you got these people who are working hard who just aren't acknowledged for their hard work because they're not kiss asses. They just go to work to do their norm. And then there's some people who just go above and beyond and want people to know how hard they're working, quote unquote. But these actors, this is a chosen field. It's actually a very, very, lucrative and very high focused and high attention giving, seeking as you will, it's not even really, I guess it is, it's a hobby, occupation, sort of desire. It's like you chose to be actors. You chose this as like you pursued this as opposed to what other people, the norm, the regular ass person does for a living. And because you feel like you don't get an award or there's not enough recognition of a particular color, you feel like there deserves to be a boycott. Now, I have a problem with this on so many levels. Because number one, you're so wealthy. You're so freaking wealthy. In spite of your getting a nod, your husband getting a nod from the Academy, you're wealthy. You will never have to understand what it's like to have your lights cut off or your cable disconnected because you couldn't pay it. You don't even know what it's like to have to ride the bus to work because you really just can't afford to make a car payment and insurance and all that. Like, you don't even understand what it's like to pay rent and then be broke for 2 weeks and then get another check and have to pay the rest of your bills with it. Like, so your biggest concern is that, one, your husband didn't get nominated because he's black. And number two, okay, because he didn't get nominated because he's black, you know what? I think a lot of us didn't get nominated because we're black. Well, that could be the case. And if that is the case, it's like, girl, welcome to America. Like, you finally just realized that that's just the way it is. Like, this is your signal. This was your trigger. This was the thing that happened that make you say, oh, we need to boycott. Really? So, living in, like, a mansion and having wealth beyond wealth, like, you didn't even think about it then. You waited to think about it when your husband, whose movie didn't get nominated for an Oscar. So now you want to speak for everyone. And you want everyone to boycott for you because your husband didn't get a nomination. Like, to me, that is just jaded as fuck. It's like, get over yourself. Number one, America has huge problems with racism. And trust me, if we're going to fight racism for real, we're not fighting it at the Oscar level. Because you have way too much money to be trying to have me to be concerned about how you feel like racism affects you personally. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Do you honestly think that a person like myself, a layman, would even care enough about your feelings to be like feeling like, oh, well, Jada feels like it's racism at the Oscars? The Oscars. Okay, are we hearing ourselves? Are we really hearing ourselves? Like, yes, America has a race problem. It has been that way since the inception. That is the way it fucking is. Do we accept it? No, we don't. But on the flip side, what else can we do? But I'm not going to fight racism at the Oscars and boycott it and not watch it just because there's the lack of diversity. There's a lack of diversity at jobs that I've worked. But I can't boycott it and be like, well, I'm the only black person. When I went to school, I went to a pretty much all-white school. There's 3 black people. 3. Myself, Monica, and Royce. I still remember their names. But my mom put me in those schools to better my education. My mom wanted me to have the best. She wanted me to understand and comprehend an entirely different world than what I guess would have possibly come naturally had she not. Because she was educated. She also went to college. She got a degree. Like, I didn't. Like, I was a little bit of a disappointment to her because I didn't choose to go to secondary school. But, you know, I'm an artist, so I chose to go the artistic route. But it just bothers me that for some reason the topic of conversation is boycotting because of the lack of diversity in film. Number one, there are independent films, which I watch all of the time. And if you take a moment to just go seek independent films, you will see tons of diversity. Tons. But it's not Hollywood mainstream. But there are tons of films that Eastern Indian people make that I love, like The Lunchbox. And these people are Indian. You know, Eastern Asian. And they're not going to get an Oscar. Not even close. But I'm almost positive it's not going to stop them from making more films. I watch tons. I watch Korean films. I watch German films. I watch French films. I watch Iraqi films. I'm always watching movies with subtitles. And I guess what bothers me is that she makes it sound as if you're not an actor or a good actor if you're not recognized by the Academy. Like, why are you in this business? So was the reason you got into this business to get accolades in the form of an Academy Award or your husband? Because if that's the case, this is your shit. It's not my shit. It's not the public shit. This is yours. And if you really have a problem with it, fight it every day. Don't just fight it at the moment it comes up. Like, where were you when, like, Trayvon was killed? Were you marching? Because I know Beyonce and Jay-Z were. Where were you then? Like, I'm confused. It's like, don't be a hypocrite when it comes to pulling the race card. Don't be hypocritical. You know, I'm very proud to be a person of color and have all of the talents and all of the acknowledgments that I have. I love it. I remember there was a while ago when someone tried to shut me down someone I knew tried to shut me down, just talk shit about me. And I asked, I said, well, how many people do you know who was a choreographer, who's a singer, who charted on Billboard, who's also on iTunes as a singer and as a writer on as iTunes under in my book, and is an accomplished painter and does interior design and has a podcast and is a DJ. Who do you know that does all of that and has accomplished all of it successfully? Who do you know personally? And he couldn't name a single person. And I was like, you can't, huh? Well, that's me. I have all of those things. I'm all of those things. I'm all of those things and then some. And I'm a person of color with no education further than high school. And if I chose to go to college, I could. Just didn't want to. Had no desire. I felt like the world was open to me, and I needed to find out how open it was. And it was very open. Very, very open to me. And I loved it. And, as I wind it all down, I realized that I'm glad I chose that route. And have I had racial problems? Absolutely. I encountered them here in Portland all of the time. Is Portland diverse? Absolutely not. Do I see it? Absolutely I do. Do I want to change it? Absolutely not. I chose to live here knowing that there was no diversity. A very small percentage. And I love it. Because I feel like the most visible, invisible individual ever. I don't care. Because being around people like me doesn't make me grow. Being around people who aren't like me makes me grow. Because their intolerance makes me strive harder. Makes me work harder. Makes me prove points. It makes me move in directions that I never thought I would move in. I'd never ever liked flowing in the same stream as all the rest of the salmon. Like all the salmon migrate upstream, that's what they do. And I always wanted to be the one who didn't. So, coming from that aspect, I just have to ask people, like, okay, I get diversity. I get it. I get why it's important. I do. I totally 100% do. And I don't mean just in the racism thing. I'm talking about gay, straight, women, men, transgendered, however. I get diversity. But what I don't get is fighting for one-sided diversity. I don't get that. I don't think you should fight for just the thing that affects you personally. When you fight for diversity, you need to be inclusive of all. Because diversity means diverse. Because if you're just saying, well, I just want more blacks. Or you're just like, well, I just want more Latino. Or I just want more gay. Or I just want more transgender. Then you're being one-sided. And then your racism horns are showing. And your bigot horns are showing. If you want diversity, it means all-inclusive, all around, global, 360. Don't be hypocritical. And that is the problem that I have with people who scream boycott and ask for people to sign up and join in on their focus. It's like, no. What are you saying? What are you asking for real? What do you need me to do? What do you need me to do? What part am I playing in this? Who are you asking on board?